Fair enough. I mean, I do think Thickies is probably also relatively accurate. He's kind of a degen that there's clearly right tail. I will work on my mid-curveness.
It's because you have a $6,000 ETH target, man.
What are you more mad about? Are you more mad about being Midcurve or are you more mad about being Giga DJ?
I'm more mad about the mid-curve. I'm okay with it.
I think you are Giga Degen. I have a little quick anecdote. We won't say what coin, but right before the stream started, Jordy said, quick, pull up the tape for this coin. We won't mention the coin. We pull it up. We're looking at the 1 minute chart. It starts ticking up. That's Jordy with his bid on his other laptop. So he's pretty degen. I think he's pretty active, more so than we're led to believe.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of 2024. And what a year it's already started to be. So I'm Jordy, CIO of Selene Capital, Chief Alchemist of Mantle. We have Justin, CEO of Astaria. We have Taiki, our humble farmer and favorite researcher, and also crypto wizard podcaster. And we have Vicky, who is moving up in the world. As we can see here, he is no longer a busboy. He's just balling in his robe now. So are things going pretty well at Scimitar, Vicky?
It's going well. I got a good bonus this year.
Glad to hear it. Hopefully this was before the TRB thing happened and the market decided to rug everybody on New Year's Day that was unfortunate enough to be trading TRB. I don't know if we can get the chart up, guys. This was a couple days ago and quite a banger way to liquidate everyone's earnings for the year.
It was the fireworks for 2020 New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I look back at all my worst trades this year, and like all of them were on these types of scams. So I was luckily able to avoid this one.
Yeah, let's tell our degen audience. I'm guessing a lot of them do know about this token because this is probably the most degen thing to try to trade. Background is, a certain firm, which we may have had a guest on from that firm, at some point got a lot of this token. I don't know if it was organic or with a deal with the creators or whatever, but let's just say they cornered the market and then started creating games where the funding rate would be at like -2% per window, and they would just trap shorts. So they trap the shorts in, they kind of keep moving the spot price out and then just sort of like liquidating them. And this has happened like multiple times. And if we zoom out, this chart has like moved up from like, very, very low levels and just kind of keeps having these liquidation pumps and consolidates and kind of does it again and again. But yeah, you can kind of see that in July, August, this thing was trading at $7. And then a couple of days ago, it was trading at $700. I'm not familiar of any tech progress that's been done at Teller Tributes. So forgive me if, you've kind of solved some AI thing or something going on over there. But my understanding is that anyone who, is unfortunate enough to get pulled into trading this thing, whether you're long or short, doesn't really matter because you're playing against somebody who has all the cards. So if you're short, they will just kind of liquidate you by pushing it up and getting you on -2% funding rates. If you're long, they'll just dump on you. So, Vicky, have you tried to trade this?
You gotta learn the fundamentals, Jordy. Learn the fundamentals right here.
Oh,
Fundamentals.
It was all in the docs. Whoa, there's so many sections in the docs. Must be bullish.
I've like tried trading this, but like I've always lost a bunch of money. So I've given up on it.
It amazes me that like some of the biggest, smartest traders in the space that I know, like ask me about it. They're like, "Hey, I'm trying to front run XYZ firm. I'll try to be sensitive." Okay, DWF, and they try to like predict when they're gonna pump and when they're gonna dump it based on which part of the phase they're in. But the reality is, there's gonna be a net loser because you're always going to be on the wrong side of it if you're against, the person who's controlling the cards. And the way I liken it is the coin is a casino and they happen to be like on, Binance Strip Mall, where like all the casinos are, like the main casinos. They have a nice casino there, and if you enter that casino, the odds are like very stacked against you. There will be a few people who do manage to time it correctly and kind of join in on the right side of the move, but most people are going to lose everything that they enter with. And the thing that happened over New Year's was the most extreme version that I've ever seen for this thing, where they literally just pumped it way beyond belief and liquidated everybody, both sides. And it was the largest liquidations of that day. Hopefully you avoided it this time, Piggy. Do you know anybody that was active on this one?
Yeah, I feel like anyone that actually tries to trade size on it, like always loses. I think you can like win if you like try to trade like really small size on it and like basically try to like avoid detection, your positioning like not get noticed by them. But it was trading like, I don't know, like it was like what, $5 billion of volume. What did you see on your end, Jordy?
Yeah, huge volume. I think the liquidations that were reported were around 40 million of liquidations caused, mostly obviously like shorts, like liquidated on that $700 spike up. Some people did try to trade once it was at 500 and it came all the way back down. So there is a way to make money if you really are like small, like you said. You're not like getting in their way. But is it really worth it? There's so many more plus EV coins and things to do than try to trade this. And it does make a little bit of a mockery of these markets, because you're kind of confronted with the reality that there's no like referee in the room. There's no like adult in the room. It's just it's a pure it's a honey pot, right? Like it's a
Honey
trap.
pot.
Yeah.
On New Year's Eve, especially. Imagine the rest of you lose your shirt on New Year's Eve. Try to trade this.
Aiki, what do you think?
You mentioned this earlier, but I mean, we're in this. I mean, it seems like a raging bull market if you look at crypto prices, and do you really want to focus your time trying to play games with DWF, or would you rather just, play on the right side of the modular narrative or like the EIP 4844 narrative? It seems like, people that try to trade around these DWF coins, there's like some sort of ego where they want to be right. They want to just say that they shorted the top and, like caught the move. But in reality, most people should just try to make money and not try to be, I guess, quote unquote, right.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that this stuff would be illegal in traditional markets. In crypto, we've talked about before that these retail participants can be exploited in this fashion. They look at this shiny thing that's gone up a lot in the trade. They're opening their apps. They want to see what's trading the most volume, what's moving, where's the activity happening. They want to kind of gamble in that aspect. And everyone's gambling on New Year's Eve, and that's it. Everybody got liquidated, and GG. And obviously, like ever since then, the rest of the week has continued to have some volatility. We midweek had, of course, a huge liquidation event. This was an opportunity for some people to make potentially crazy amount of money. I think some people did really well buying dips. Did you buy anything on this dip, Justin?
No, I missed out. I was just, I think I'm fully allocated for whatever happens over the next year. I'm not really looking to sell in the short term, and I'm also not really looking to buy. I just don't see the need. I mean, we had the time for that over the last 2 years. So for me, I'm just sort of sitting on my hands. I haven't really rotated much out of ETH in like considerable size right now, and feeling pretty comfortable with that. I know we're going to talk about what's been happening with the Celsius sales later, but it does seem to me like there's some mean reversion that we should expect on ETH BTC. But again, I've been saying that for a year or so, and I've been continuously proven wrong. But I don't think now is the time to sort of capitulate on that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we'll look at it in a bit. But basically, we've had the battle of the interns, right? Like we have the one intern that gave us the fake headline about ETF approval back months ago that we talked on the show, how it was showing a very bullish reaction from the market. This one was a little bit different. Basically, a couple of days ago, it wasn't even during the dip, there was some, analyst from Matrix Report that said that this ETF is not getting approved and Bitcoin's going back to 36K. Cool story, bro. So everybody ignored it. No one cared. But then for some reason, the block decided to make a story about the other guy who made a story. So they literally just had a headline saying, someone else said that this will get rejected. And all the trading algos that go off of headlines picked it up and just started this liquidation cascade. And the market was overdue for a liquidation cascade. So it ran really deep. I think it was a really, really obvious buying opportunity. I did go max long, not at the bottom, but like at this kind of like mid recovery period right after, because it was clear that this all started from what was in essence a misreading of an AI bot doing kind of a LLM on the headline. Vicky, you're kind of familiar with these news trades, and I know a lot of Tree of Alpha and other people run this stuff. Do you think you could kind of actually make money by getting the wrong reaction, but then as long as you cover it in time, you're right even though you're wrong?
Yeah, I'm in like quite a few of these groups, and I remember the Sunday before I was having like my other Twitter Spaces talking about how everyone seemed to be positioned that like there was like a 99% chance that it would get approved, and I don't think they were trying to make adjustments, around cutting before the ETF happened, and like funding rates were super positive, so the positioning was super long. And I think these news traders I actually saw in these groups like talking about how like the short on a rejection or like even rumors of rejection would probably be pretty forgiving just because of how positioning was positioned super long.
Yeah, I think there remains to be like a lot of opportunity in crypto right now, even though the funding rates got reset. And if you're farming stables and you're farming funding rates, that opportunity of like 100% APY is not around right now. With like the leverage wipeout, I think we will have multiple more opportunities where people get over their skis. We're seeing today already like large moves. We see the Tia trannies as they're called, and the Lido ladyboys. Isn't trannies and ladyboys kind of like? Are they saying like Tia and Lido are kind of like the same coin? I don't know what's going on here, but
maybe they have the same holder base, so they want to identify across multiple communities.
Very Thailand-based holder base, apparently. Like Andrew, you see like this the tweet saying that DEF CON is going to be in Bangkok, so the Lido and the trannies and the ladyboy coins are going up a lot.
Coincidence.
It does look like potentially EIP 4844 is nearing. We're seeing Arbitrum finally kind of stop being a stable coin. We had my Hard Rock Nick meme about stablecoin of the year. So Arbo is the stablecoin of 2023, and it's finally breaking out. It's doubled to over $2. Hickey, do you think EIP 4844 is going to change the game for layer 2s, or are you bullish layer 2s right now?
I think from I think Justin can talk more on the fundamental side also, but I think like from like a narrative trader perspective, like this is very bullish for layer 2s, and it's been definitely reflected in the markets as like the Degen upgrade has been, I guess the dates have been set, and they're like set a little bit sooner than the market expected, which is like violently repriced these L2s, which should see a lot more activity. And
what's your take, Justin?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think the reaction to Arbitrum here is like a little extreme and perhaps overheated, but those are just the conditions we're in. But fundamentally, I think this goes back to sort of the conversation we've been having over like the last whole year. 4844 effectively changes the pricing for layer 2s, which is Ethereum's whole business model. And we've noted that Ethereum is in this like deadly middle zone where it's not quite hard money like Bitcoin that's just sort of committing to that. And it's also not fast like Solana and cheap and usable and accessible, etc. And now they're sort of like maybe diving even deeper into this deadly middle zone where they're basically like cannibalizing their own fee market in some ways and lowering the amount of revenue that will accrue to the chain. And I understand that it leads to better prices on L2s, which is like the end ultimate goal. But in my opinion, you really got to pick a direction here. I don't know if this middle ground approach is going to work when you have, Bitcoin on one side and Solana on the other, and ETH just sitting in the middle. And, we've been saying that for a while now. I haven't seen any commentary from sort of the ETH camp aside from really us criticizing 4844. Everyone's sort of been treating it as like the, as sliced bread, right? Like this is like the next greatest thing coming down the pipeline. Maybe for these L2 coins, but I don't see it for Ethereum, other than the fact that like typically into hard forks, tokens pump. So Ethereum might do well in the short term because of it, but at the end of the day, it like fundamentally changes how Ethereum is going to make money.
There's been a lot of talk out there around Ethereum kind of needing to rebrand the narrative. And I was on a podcast with Sano on Bankless a couple of days ago, talking about ETH in 2024. And there were, there was a consensus that, maybe the ultrasound meme needs to go, but it's not exactly clear what their kind of return is, like where do we go from there. Some people are talking about restaking being, a narrative that where ETH kind of becomes a security layer for a lot of other stuff. My personal take is that people will start to realize this is community money and it could be very good community money. And that's kind of what makes me bullish. I think you're right. Like, in terms of fees and like fees paid for the short term, this is not going to be great. And also all these like Celestia options. I mean, I'm talking to some of the projects that I work with. They're looking at using data availability off of the L1 to make their gas cheaper. People just hate high gas, right? Like, is that sort of the story, Taiki?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, I guess like, my background is I entered crypto full time in 2020, and I was kind of like ETH maxi, started using the chain, bought some farm tokens, got dumped on, and then whenever I tried to, take my loss, I had to pay $60 to approve the farm token, and then $60 to sell, and I was fucking pissed. And then I saw a cheap chain called Polygon, and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna ape into this thing, and that was kind of the narrative from last cycle. Is that Ethereum has abandoned its users, and the people are gonna just flock to cheaper chains. And it's been 2 years since the market top, and not much has changed, right? Ethereum gas fees are still high. The L2 ecosystem still looks bleak, to say the least. And that's one of the reasons why I think, that's one of the reasons for Solana's resurgence. I think Cosmos will do well, even other alto ones. And I think that's going to be the narrative again this cycle. Ethereum is too expensive. Let's go to cheaper chains.
Can I ask you guys if you think that fundamentally actually matters, or if it's just memetics? Like, does the high gas cost actually matter, or is it just a meme? Because I'm sort of reminded of that quote, like, oh, it's too crowded over there, no one goes there, right? Like the high gas prices means that the chain is truly that valuable to use. And I'm just wondering if, like, Polygon to use it is 1,000x cheaper than Ethereum, which means theoretically, like, a user on Polygon is worth somewhere between like 1/100th or 1/1000th of the value of a user on Ethereum, just as far as revenue to the chain goes. And I'm sort of wondering, like, how much low fees matter. Are the people that are actually going for the low fees like relevant as users? I mean, of course we care about them and want to offer them a good experience, but are they actually the ones that are adding the value to the ecosystem? Something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah, I can touch on this. And I did a podcast with Daryl, like Wingarian, and he mentioned that, right now on Ethereum, there's no expectation of great profits of anything in the Ethereum ecosystem, aside from maybe like buying Arbor OP. So people aren't really willing to pay high fees. But if you go to BRC20 land, people are paying like $100 to inscribe things. So I think that's one of the issues Ethereum has. There's like nothing new that's happened. We had NFTs last cycle, and people were paying thousands of dollars to mint like other side NFTs. But this time around, people can make more money on Solana, right? People can make money on Cosmos or centralized exchanges. Like, why do they need to go on the chain? So until something happens innovation-wise or some new mechanic in ETH mainnet, I just like don't see like users go there. People have to have expectations of profit.
I agree with the expectation of profit, but like I would in some ways argue that's not like what we're seeing now isn't real usage. Like all of the activity and excitement around these other chains, and we're not going to name names, but like some chains worth multiple billions of dollars have like 5 million in TVL, and a lot of like the chains that are popping off now, like there's truly nothing really to do there that's novel. Like the use case for on-chain hasn't shifted from what it was in 2020, which is Uniswap and Aave or lending in general. And like I just don't we talked about this before of like we would love to see like a new category emerge to kick off this bull, but I think we're in a weird spot now because the bull market has kicked off in a huge way, but there's no new use case. And I feel like every other cycle has had a new use case that people have gotten excited about. And for me, there's just not much I'm seeing that like is convincing me to do much on chain. I don't really do much on chain these days, honestly.
Well, look, like when it comes to on-chain fees, obviously whales are going to drive a lot of it. When it comes to centralized exchange token trading, I think having a large amount of, retail, smaller fish will drive that. And I don't think it's just a meme. I mean, we saw the Suzu tweet from 3 years ago where he said, Ethereum has abandoned its users. Obviously, at the time, he was just trying to pump his Avalanche bags, and he very successfully, did that. But it feels like 2 years later, that tweet is actually extremely relevant to what's been happening in Q4 2023, with Solana and everything else. And this is like kind of like the narrative that recreating exactly what Suzu was talking about. I think ultimately it does matter. People do want to not have to pay $50 per transaction. We were doing it for a while as like a new normal, but once you don't do that, you don't want to go back to it. And I think L2s with 4844 hopefully kind of change it around. I'm curious, Thicky, have you been trading any of the L1, the cheap, fast L1s? Is that
I have. Well, I wanted to like pose like a question on this ETH debate. Like, I almost view that like, I think the users and like the tech, it matters in the tech cycle in the short term of like speculation and memeability. I do think like on like a 5-10 year time frame, like these things will almost always fade. Like these flows are gonna leave, and like what really matters is just like, in my mind, still is like the fundamental store value pieces. And like with Bitcoin's like security model, it needs to double in price every single year to keep the same amount of security. Whereas like ETH, like proof of stake is so secure that like even if ETH is worth like 250 billion, the amount of money that it would take for you to 51% attack the ETH network is just like astronomically high because of it's just so hard to gather, like let's say 10% of the supply in that short of a time without anyone noticing, as opposed to Bitcoin. So like this repricing in Bitcoin definitely has shifted because I think it's inevitable that the world realizes that like Bitcoin's security model is fundamentally broken and they make the shift to ETH. But because the price of Bitcoin's gone up so much, like it might push it back, you know, another 4 years, another 8 years, which is like a lot in like the short term, but like in the grand scheme of things, like I do think it'll eventually go back to ETH.
Look, the Bitcoin thing, just to correct, yeah, it needs to double every 4 years, not every 1 year. And that's kind of being challenged a little bit with the inscriptions and the amount of fees that are being generated. You know, are those still going to be popular in 20 years, or, you know, are Chinese still going to be going crazy over, you know, BRC20s and maybe those fees go away? It's hard to say, but
even now, like the inscription fees are only 15-20% of the, you know, fees that miners get. It's still mostly from the block rewards.
One thing I want to point out that really changed my perspective on this that I think is so helpful to frame this is when there's activity on ETH, activity today impacts future security because, you know, ETH is deflationary, you're burning supply. But all of the activity we're seeing on Bitcoin today is not at all helpful for the future. All that matters for Bitcoin security is sort of like the instantaneous demand, which I think is like a fundamental, like flawed design, right? Like even if ordinals are like the next big thing or some sort of Bitcoin L2 is the next big thing for the next 4 years, that doesn't actually matter. Like, but because where we're at in 20 years is what's going to matter in 20 years, whereas ETH is like build this more sustainable roadmap.
Absolutely. So there's still a lot of uncertainties, and yeah, it does, you know, feel like the store of value thesis for ETH being an alternative that doesn't require this halvening and, you know, this kind of uncertainty should be there for the taking. Meanwhile, you know, Celsius has been dumping constantly. You know, the fuck are they doing over there? We have our cat looking over. They keep selling. From what my understanding is of the situation there, you know, they initially were going to have a business plan of BTC mining and Ethereum staking. And at some point, the plan just became BTC mining and no ETH staking because regulatorily it would be hard to do that part. And so there's been a bit of a rebalancing. I think those sales, from what I understand, are nearing the end, or, you know, sort of at an end. I have publicly been expecting that once the BTC ETF hits, it will be a very large transition to the next thing, which will be looking at ETH on the horizon. So I like Justin, have been positioned likewise, and hopefully I'm not mid-curving. And why do I say I am mid-curving? Apparently one of you guys out there, whoever of you this is, created the Steady Lads curve meme. So I would say some of it's accurate. I kind of, you know, I think Taiki is the very proud mid-curver that, you know, is very happy with the recent maker move. So he's doing okay. I think everybody will agree with, you know, some of this left side here. But WTF, I mean, how am I in mid-curve Degen? Justin and Thicky, are you guys happy with your positioning?
I'm happy with mine.
I mean, I think Thicky and I have the two best squares, to be honest.
I do.
Because you got to want to be right curve, right? Like you left curve, you're going to make a lot of money, but you don't want to go through life like that. Mid curve, Taiki, I'm sorry. It's a real tough spot to be. I've been there. But right curve is where it's at, right? Like we run the narrative. We know what's coming. We're outsmarting everyone. And you don't want to be too degen, right? You don't want to be giga degen. You'll sort of blow yourself up. We all know Ansom's going to ride Solana back down to $10. I'm just kidding. But Vicky and I are in a great spot. And so I'm very happy here. I'm very non-degen. And so I'm really, really happy in my square in the top right there. I think I'm in the best spot with Vicky shortly.
But what Steady Lad listener has watched you, go over WorldCoin orbs and Solana phones and being oh yeah, this guy's zero degen. He does not degen at all. He's not buying random land on NFT projects where you try to. No, this guy's zero degen.
Well, he said he's watched every single episode, but his handle is ETH Boy, so maybe he just likes me because I'm probably more ETH aligned, quote unquote, than the rest of you guys.
Fair enough. I do think Thickies is probably also relatively accurate. He's kind of a degen that there's clearly right tail. I will work on my mid-curveness.
It's because you have a $6,000 ETH target, man.
Wait, what are you more mad about? Are you more mad about being Midcurve, or are you more mad about being Giga DJ?
I'm more mad about the Midcurve. I'm okay with it.
Well, I think you are Giga Degen. I have a little quick anecdote. We won't say what coin, but right before the stream started, Jordy said, quick, pull up the tape for this coin. We won't mention the coin. We pull it up. We're looking at the 1 minute chart. It starts ticking up. That's Jordy with his bid on his other laptop. So he's pretty degen. I think he's pretty active, more so than we're led to believe.
Yeah, I don't know. Michael Saylor definitely is ultra degen. So yeah, it would flip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I do.
Michael Saylor's a Midcurve degen.
Jordy runs a delta neutral shop, so I don't know if you can categorize him as Giga DJ.
Exactly. You get my street cred on the institutional streams, kind of.
Maybe it was the poker stories you were telling about. You'd stay up all night playing poker.
Anyway, we appreciate you guys kind of coming up with this stuff and sometimes calling out some pastas of the week that we end up using. So thank you for that. Another thing we want to get to is unfortunately we are still seeing some hacks. We saw very recently a hack of Gamma. I think it was $3.8 million or something in that region. We saw a very large hack very recently of Orbit Bridge on Clayton. And I don't know if we can find this. Maybe our editor can find this later. There was a response by the Clayton, the Koreans, to the person who hacked them. They always like to do these on-chain messages to tell the hacker hey, let's communicate. And they set the most Korean. I have a lot of Korean friends, and I know how emotional they get sometimes. And it was such an emotional message. They're basically saying we will find you, we will kill you, we will destroy your life. But hey, can we if you want to negotiate, we're here to negotiate. Reach out to us any way you can. It's quite unfortunate we're still having these things happen, and sometimes it's very common. Even Radiant had a hack a couple days ago, and it was something that's been happening, quite often. Unfortunately, very very similar points of attack. Justin, have you also been kind of a part of some attacks recently?
Yeah, it was let's say an exciting week to say the least. So my co-founder was unfortunately SIM swapped this past week. He's very security conscious, so he doesn't generally use SMS for two-factor authentication, but as we know, some platforms basically just require that. And so, it's quite easy for a hacker, right? They know someone's name, easy to find where they live, easy to find their phone number and what carrier they use. They can buy the Social Security online for, $10, $20, something like that. And they can get a fake ID made, go to the mobile store, whether it's, in the US or outside of the US, they go to the store. They basically just have to convince an employee at that store to activate this new phone that they bring in with that old number to transfer the number over. If a store says no, they can go to another one, right? It's pretty much guaranteed that they can make this happen. And so unfortunately, this attack was successful in the short term, and the attacker stole $250,000 from our company bank account. Fortunately, it was 9 p.m. here. I was on my computer, as I usually am, and I got the alert that new bank account was linked to our bank, and so immediately saw it, immediately got the accounts frozen, had the money clawed back. But it's one of those things that sort of makes it exhausting to be in this space, right? You talk to people. I was actually talking to some people at the fraud department at the bank, and some of them have never even heard of a SIM swap attack. So we're really exposing ourselves in this industry to a lot of unnecessary risk. And I think these attacks are going to continue happening until our infrastructure and,
Yeah.
the wireless space picks up.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, even one of our co-hosts here, so I know Taiki has gone through this and very similar situation. We saw some of the Twitter hacks happening as well. Taiki, like, how does it feel emotionally? Like, do you feel kind of like violated? Like, I've had stuff stolen from me, like, and I felt very like, kind of just physically upset. How did you feel when this happened?
Well, the first time I got spam attacked, I was like, oh, like, I guess I'm big enough where someone wants to attack me. So I was like, oh yeah, like I kind of felt like I made it. But like, it is annoying. I still get like spam like on my phone. So what they do is like, if someone tries to SIM swap you, Verizon or T-Mobile will probably text you like, hey, like you try to change your phone number or, trying to move it to a new phone. If this was you, you can ignore this message. But if it's not, contact us. So what an attacker does is like, they just like spam you texts every 10 minutes or so. So hopefully like, or they're hoping that you missed that text. Gratefully, like I caught it. So I don't have to deal with it, but I still get these texts. It's like super annoying.
It does seem to be like a bit of a U.S. phenomenon. Like, I've been living outside the U.S. for a long time, and I've never had any. Like, I don't think that carriers outside the U.S. are stupid that they just let you convince them to
Yeah.
number.
We talked to some security folks, and the two things, if you're looking to tighten your security and you're listening to this, one is don't use a U.S. carrier. Obviously, some people that doesn't work for. But if you are in the U.S., use Google Fi. Google Fi has some great international plans. It's quite affordable. It seems like it'll be pretty quick. And Google, from what I understand, is the least likely to be socially engineered to give up your SIM. And part of the reason is they just don't have physical locations. So we're looking at switching over to that ourselves.
Yeah. The funny thing though, like with like all these hacks and all these things, we had like the dev start in at Selene recently, kind of outside of crypto, and he was looking at Clay, and we had this like big hack happen, 80 million lost, and he's looking like the price is going up, like what's going on? Welcome to crypto, like this is less about fundamentals and just the fact that the ticker is getting mentioned that it got hacked can pump the price instead of move the price down. I'm curious, Sticky, like, do you ever try to like sell stuff off on like even Radiant, like, it got hacked and then like the price was not like reacting. Do you try to trade these hacking headlines, and do you know how to do it?
Well, maybe I'll give away some alpha here, but I think the Midcurve move is to short on a hack, but the Gigabrain move is to buy on a hack. Unless like they're actively like swapping the tokens into ETH or something and they're selling it, like there's actually like no short-term flow that comes from it. And, like nobody really wants to short. So like if someone shorts the coin and there's a lot of Rely built, then you just go buy it from them at PvP.
Yeah, you can liquidate the people that think they're too mid-curving and they think it's actually going to go down because there was a hack. Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine actually,
yeah, it's actually bullish because there's a lot more attention on the coin.
Yeah, this is kind of what we told our new starter. Welcome to this new world. So one day things will normalize, but this is where we live right now. And there have been a little bit of like PvPs, a little bit of cat fights. I saw Antonio from DYDX. They had a liquidity drain on their insurance fund. He said that they've identified through a bunch of forensics on chain and so forth. He's not telling us, but he tweeted that they know who it is and that they're in contact with whoever manipulated the protocol to take out $9 million from the insurance fund. I don't know if it's any of the main characters that we've talked about, but curious to see if they publicly share.
I wanted to get your guys' take on something real quick. We're seeing a lot of exploits lately are I wouldn't say direct market manipulation, but they're like sort of manipulating the protocol in a way to extract value, usually a money market. And it seems like, it's wrong, but it is this weird gray area where it's like they're literally just using the software as intended and out trading the software and the other users. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Where do you stand on that? Do you think it's okay? Do you think these people are going to jail?
So it goes back to the kind of code is law, two sides camp, right? The legal thing is a completely different argument. And it does look like in many cases, these things are found to be illegal. And, things like derivatives can always fall under CFTC in some way or form, shape or another. And, especially if you have any US links, bad things can happen to you. Whether it's right or wrong, I think, given it's a dark forest and there are people in Russia that are going to be using these things, in North Korea, that are not going to be achievable to actually get the law enforcement involved, you do need to kind of just make the thing robust, right? Like, you can't allow those vectors, even if it is wrong, and you're going to get in trouble in some cases. I think we saw, some back and forth. I think Kane can try to pull up this back and forth from Catfish and Kane, the founder of Synthetics, who was making some comments about how DWF is partnering with Daniela Sesta, one of the main characters from the last cycle. It says 2 epic grifters teaming up, and somebody responds, "Hey, like, isn't Synthetics your protocol just got fleeced by DWF, and also like Pith is the Oracle provider for it, and Pith is partnered with DWF." So I would say, even if like legally there's nothing that can be done for some things, there is clearly like a social backlash and a social cost sometimes. We can see a tweet here by the CEO of Pith responding to this. Mike Kale is basically saying, we want to clarify that actually DWF is not one of our providers, and they said that they would onboard, but didn't actually do it, and we have no other relationship. So there seems to be a bit of a backlash against people who are doing this manipulative behavior. And maybe this is okay, because if legal enforcement is not possible because of jurisdictions, at least as like, social layer, there's some immune cells that kind of come up. So I don't know if those are going to be effective and what's going to happen in the long run. I think ultimately the social pressure will help. It will put pressure like on Binance, on like the exchanges. It will kind of create some societal pressure to stop some of the, really crazy manipulation that we're seeing on prices. But in the meantime, it'll continue until somebody does something about it.
Yeah, and like on the topic of security, like, I mean, I'm like a DeFi/farmer, guy, but even me, right? It's like, it's pretty scary to just use some of these protocols nowadays. Like, do I really want to deploy capital into this new money market, even if the yields are good? Do I really want to bridge to this new ecosystem, given that, bridges keeps getting attacked? Like, what do you guys think about? I mean, I guess this is like why there's a lot of upside for being on chain, just because like 90% of people don't want to deal with this. But do you think DeFi can ever like get more users? I guess. Do you have like, when's the last time you guys used on-chain apps outside of just buying something on Uniswap?
I mean, I personally do still kind of, interact with a lot of apps because I want to be at the forefront of, what's going on, collaborate with a lot of projects, and, I think through a lot of these mechanics. I want to be using them. But I will say, like, even if you agree, like if you were stablecoin farming, you don't want to get 7% for having the risk of 4 protocols stacked on top of each other. What you really want to be doing is like, longing and like shorting a perp and kind of creating a delta neutral position and getting paid crazy funding rates. And actually, the market is extremely inefficient right now. Like, here's some alpha. Some of these things, like even the stuff that take you like this TS stuff, a lot of it is based around like airdrop farming. And when there's an airdrop farming, the funding should be negative. So BNB holders have figured it out, because BNB is the one token that when they allow it to launch pool, and it's clearly like, people are going to just like be getting an airdrop for holding BNB through the launch pool, the funding goes negative on BNB. And as soon as the launch pool ends, it goes back down. There's no way you can make money, even though you can predict that the price will fall after the launch pool ends, because the funding is negative. This is an efficient market. However, for things like TIA, Atom, like other things that are actually kind of valuable because they're paying you airdrops, the funding could still be positive because people are just kind of gambling on it, even though when you long the perp, you're not getting the airdrop that you're getting when you buy spot. And so there's a huge inefficiency, and that's some alpha that I think our users, if they want to be in stables, if they want to be in delta neutral position, they can take advantage of.
Yeah, I know a notorious stablecoin farmer, and he just is staking TIA across a bunch of wallets, and he's short TIA on Hyperliquid to collect funding. So it's like this delta neutral strategy. He's farming both Celestia airdrops and also the Hyperliquid airdrop. So yeah, lots of, I guess, yield opportunities there.
Yeah. So until you see negative funding rates on these things, guys, like you can definitely be making, I don't know,
Just
100%.
hearing this conversation as someone that's not doing like this funding arbitrage, it does seem to me like the yield farming of 2021 actually has become more efficient, and like the ways to make money are now doing these like much more complex, let's say, like derivatives of like old farming techniques, which is super interesting to me. Maybe that's a sign the space is advancing. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it too complex. You buy the spot and you short the perp, and kind of, especially on exchanges like Bybit, OKX that have this like portfolio margin. I guess you can buy, Binance has it now. You can do it quite effectively.
Yeah, I guess I should correct that. Of like in poker, there's like level 1 thinking, level 2 thinking, etc. It feels like we've went up a level. Like even Thicky talking about earlier, like because everyone else is going to short or sell into like a hack announcement, I'm actually going to long, like, and trying to think about what everyone else is doing. Like, I don't think that was the case in 2021. It felt like you could really get away with mid-curving it, whereas now you sort of like have to really think about what the other players in the system are doing.
Yeah, I think I'm curious. Like, do you kind of denominate in dollars and or like in some crypto? And if you denominate in dollars, how do you try to kind of generate yield on stuff that's not actively being deployed in positions?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of yield farming. This past week was really amazing because they're getting 50, 100% everywhere.
Is this sort of like funding arbitrages, or are you kind of interacting with DeFi?
It's a bit of both. Well, it's mostly just like, mostly funding arbitrage. And sometimes you qualify for some airdrops as well on top of that.
Which airdrops are you farming?
Well, I am farming Tia, Manta, and there are a couple more.
Oh yeah. I think those would be pretty good.
I think the airdrop thing is quite a next level. Like Justin said, this is like the next level stuff, and definitely like for Mantle, I've been designing like a massive airdrop kind of staking campaign for later in Q1. Justin, though, you have a lot of ETH, so I'm curious, do you have meth? Where do you keep your ETH? What kind of like ETH, ETH farming? Because you have ETH, you want yield on your ETH. You got a stake, you got to do something. Yeah. What are you doing?
Here's the breakdown of what you want to do. You want to get, it's too late now, but the play was like 6 months ago to get into EigenLayer when the deposits were capped super low. So you would deposit your staked ETH to like Steth, Coinbase ETH, whatever, into EigenLayer, and you'd get the yield from staking ETH, and then you'd also get like very explicitly EigenLayers giving out points. You have like a dashboard, you see how many points you have, and you see like how many points you have relative to everyone else. So that was, in my opinion, like the best way to get a return on ETH. So I have a little bit in that, but nothing too crazy. And then mostly holding staked ETH, Coinbase staked Ether. I don't have meth, but certainly would be open to it. Are the yields different on Mantle's staked ETH derivative than they are on mainnet?
So right now we are giving everyone, regardless of where they hold it, whether it's on L1 or L2, there is just the largest yield in any ETH product. It's a 7.2% fixed yield, and we just went from like 3 months, we increased it to like 4.5 months, so it'll be at least 4.5 months, and maybe we'll increase it again. We're just subsidizing that sustainably through treasury staking. So the treasury has hundreds of thousands of ETH. We're generating a lot of ETH, and we're actually giving it out to, it's like literally free ETH. So that's gonna probably be the best opportunity. You can also pretty soon, I expect it will be announced quite soon, a little bit of other alpha. Probably shouldn't be saying it. I expect that maybe meth will very soon also be allowed into EigenLayer restaking. Probably not a surprise given that Mantle is the EigenDA OG, but that's also coming soon. So you can kind of start stacking the highest yield plus airdrops plus.
For meth, is underlying it's running staked ETH in the background, or did you guys build your own solution?
This is built natively. It took many months. It's kind of let's just say very world-class developers actually built this, very experienced ones. So,
well, let us know if you're looking for professional validators.
Yes, we have some validators we can talk about more. But yeah, I'm very excited about meth. I think it's quickly gonna shoot up because I am very determined to just keep the thing at the highest yield out of everybody else. So in DeFi Llama, you can check that it is the highest yield, and you'll soon also be able to get all the different kind of airdrops for it. So
yeah, I feel like last cycle yield farming was a thing, right? Like just put your LP here, get more tokens. But now everyone understands the game. the players are more sophisticated. So this cycle's farming is just going to be airdrop farming, right? Just hope that these points are going to be worth something. Hope that you're going to get a bunch of these rewards. And I think that if you, I mean, I run a YouTube channel, right? So like I have access to like types of content that people really like, and like the airdrop content on YouTube just gets all the clicks. And I think that coins associated with the like airdrop farming are just naturally going to get a bit, just because it's like an appealing proposition for retail, right? Just like deposit capital here, and then in 3 months get more tokens and whatnot.
Yeah, it's sort of like these free rolls on PokerStars. You don't need a lot of money to enter, but you can potentially make 5 figures, which is very cool.
So Jordy, I just pulled up the meth staking. I can't believe I hadn't heard of this before. I mean, this sounds like planned, but it's really not. So do you have to lock for the 7.2% APY for this double dose drive?
Yeah, no, there's none of this like blast kind of bullshit, in my opinion, of like locking and it's just stuck there in something for forever. You can lock and unlock, stake it on stake, get in and get out right away. You just get the 7.2 daily for just holding it. It sort of just accumulates. It's an accumulating token. So you put in 1 and you wait and you just get 1.072. It's native yield. I know that term is used a bit too much, but it actually is just paying it natively in the token. So it's pure ETH. There's no other token shit coins you're getting.
So this is almost filled up. So at that point, are you going to raise the capacity, or do you think Mantle will raise the capacity? Like, I guess I'm happy I know this before this episode airs tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say like there's only looks like 85,000 left.
Only 85, Justin. You think you could fill all of it?
Maybe half, but no, I definitely do not have 85, but like 30, yeah.
30,000. Obviously it's more than like 2/3 sort of. So I would say it's still open, but it might fill up, and it's really easy if you have Steth as well. You can just easily convert in 1 click. So we're using native X. There's no fees. You can just it's a bit of a vampire attack on Lido Steth. You can easily switch over if you want, and just double your yield. So it's a double dose of meth for that.
I heard in another podcast that if you hold meth, do you get like airdrops? Is that like a thing?
Officially cannot confirm or deny, but I imagine that there could be some interesting things to do with holding METH. And yeah, like if you want to get more airdrop, maybe like having it on the layer 2 is a smarter thing. But these are rumors that I'm not in any official capacity able to address such. Stop this. Pasta of the week. We're going to
keep it all out.
Pasta of the week time. All right, Justin, what do you got for pasta?
All right, let me pull this up here and get us on the right track. So this video has been going around Twitter. We've seen a ton of different, this meme has been recycled, let's say, but I thought this was just absolutely hilarious. The volume here, but you can see someone had their parole denied and they just went after this judge and jumped the judge. And the caption here is Mert whenever someone posts Solana FUD. And I have to say, this is pretty accurate. I think a few episodes ago, I was accidentally caught on tape saying there's nothing to do on Solana. No one's actually using it. They're just speculating on the price. And people really jump on you. I had some nasty comments. I guess some of the ETH maxi of the the pod just for pointing that out. But you got to be careful out there. People will jump at you.
It's not so bad. You're saying you're not doing much on-chain in general. So it's not just Solana. You're kind of like an all-chain hater right now until like some use case.
Let's say I have like 1 transaction a day, let's say, across all my wallets. So it's modest, not nothing.
I'm curious, like, Thicky, do you think these like friend tech points that people have been trying to get on-chain, like, are those going to be worth anything once thing goes live, or has he just missed the window?
I think they still will be. It's like a real product. It's more like a bear market product, just like Rollbit and what used to be Maker until they rebranded and had that share split. Congratulations, Taiki. But I think it still will.
Midcurvers win.
Is it Maker Midcurvers, or what's the moniker that you guys use?
Well, like, I mean, Maker MKR stands for Midcurve, so like Maker is Midcurve money. right? Like if Maker goes up, then it creates a wealth effect for the Midcurve community, which trickles down to coins like ETH, another Midcurve coin.
Do you guys already have like the Tia Trannies, Lido Ladyboys? Do you guys already have a name, or no?
No, I think we're just a Midcurve.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Somebody was pointing out that Mantle dropped the ball. There's no Mantle manlets. This Solana manlets already took that.
Yeah,
from
they
me.
stole that one. Yeah.
The Mantle Torchbearers or something?
Wait.
I don't know.
It's actually they use the same letters.
Same letters. Yeah.
Yeah, manlets.
It's an
It's an
anagram.
anagram, right? Yeah, yeah.
All right. That's a strong pasta. That's a solid. I don't know, 8 or something. Thank you. Do you have anything to match?
Yeah, well, I had 3. Let me go pick one. Give me a second.
All right. 3. Okay.
I'll pick this one.
Okay. You got one.
In spirit of what happened with the Matrix 4 news and the news traders dumping Bitcoin, I feel like there's been like a huge inflow of people that like can make a good amount of money just trading, and there's a lot of people just staring at screens 24/7, reading headlines and just like reacting to news. But obviously when this thing gets crowded, it creates a lot of like weird distortions in the market that you can definitely see. Like the hack stuff we talked about earlier is like a weird distortion where if we see too many news traders like trying to short the coin, it gets kind of crowded and you can kind of try to like trade against them. But yeah, this is like an archetype we've seen a lot of this cycle.
Is this you,
On
Vicky?
It is him. Remember when his alarm went off when there's some like bankruptcy liquidation news that came out and his phone went off in the middle of the pod and he had to jump off?
Are you afraid to go outside to not miss any news?
Yes, I am.
I have a question. So at the right, it says the Johnny Silver guy says, "quote unquote," uses a pee bottle. Like, have you ever used a pee bottle?
I have, yes.
Oh shit!
Like
Jordy,
really
how about you? Like, once. Okay. That's crazy. Jordy, like whenever you play poker, did you ever use a pee bottle?
I have
Well,
not. Yeah.
that
What's
was
that?
public. A little bit more weird.
Well, online you can play with
Online
knowledge.
poker. Yeah.
Yeah, online poker. Yeah, there is one guy who did it live. So Antonio Sfandiari famously had some bet, and just ended up peeing in a bottle. I think he got banned from the casino. And I regretted his action, but he might have won a large prop bet. Okay, this is another very solid one. Heiki, how about you?
I saw this on the timeline a couple of days ago. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So apparently there was like some dev that was live streaming and was rugging a coin called Jeet on Twitch. And at the end of the stream, he accidentally leaked his face.
Why was he rugging it like on a stream, like just like troll people?
Yeah, I think he just had some god complex and wanted to just look at these comments. My brother, you rugged me. I saw your face.
Oh
You son of a bitch, I will find you. Like Wicket 2G at the top right. Oh my god.
Thanks.
G Coin Soul is the live stream. It's on Solana. There is a
very. He did warn what he was going to do
That's fair. Yeah. People knew what they were getting into.
with the ticker. Yeah.
All right. Well, solid addition here. Mine is a Fiscantes tweet. So Fiscantes and I used to have some online beef because of Olympus DAO. We were kind of on opposite sides of that one, but we met once at a conference in Tokyo, and now we're like besties. So shout out to my buddy Fiscantes out there if you're listening. But he has an interesting tweet here. He says, if you hate seeing people dumber than you making more money than you on stuff that's absolutely idiotic, you will have a bad time in next year or so. It's absolutely true. Like the left curvers have been completely crushing, not just dog coins, rooster coins, all kinds of meme stuff has been performing the best out of anything that is semi-intelligent. So I can definitely relate to this. I'm scared to even try to touch that stuff because I feel like it will mid-curve me. Because if I start moving left, I end up more in the middle and I kind of like mess it all up. So I try not to look at the left curve stuff too much.
As the guy they placed in the top right of the Steady Lads breakdown on the curve scale, I'm far right curve, right? So I see this all the time. Everyone is making more money than me, and everyone's dumber than me. So
Yo, there's some self-confidence right there.
think you
All right.
do.
I'm happy to be a mid curve.
You're happy? Do you guys ever try to get like these like completely left curve plays and just be like, what is the dumbest thing that like will work right now? Like this will work.
Every time I do that, I just get wrecked.
Yeah. I feel like you can like try to transform a left curve narrative into a right curve one if you like rationalize it a certain way.
Yeah, I guess like meme coins is like, this is like this social currency of the internet.
I do think my contrarian take is that like we might have just topped Jan 1 on alls. So like, I don't know. I think this guy could be wrong. I'm like prepared for scenario where we just go down only.
Wow. But like a lot of stuff has continued to pump through the day. Like we saw say go to 90 cents. We saw, some other interesting coins kind of pump maybe a little bit over their skis where there's not necessarily like the technology or AUM quite ready there. Maybe it will come, but you think we might have peaked already?
I think certain names can still do well, but like I think like the total market cap for alts, I'm just like I think it's like more likely the market's positioned for. So I'm still long like alts and I'm still long Bitcoin, but like I'm just getting ready for that scenario. I think it's like not unlikely.
Yeah, I think that was one of your predictions for 2024 that we would have a solid news event. All right, so Strong Pastas, we don't have a live stream to pick a winner. I think. What do you think, Taiki? I think you and I are a little bit behind. I think it's between Justin and Thicky on this one.
Oh, damn! Like my Jig coin was behind. I personally like Thicky's because I know for a fact that he's out there with the pee bottle, like almost blind.
The one time I don't want to be known as that guy,
I think Justin was definitely like a contender, but given that I think you had a recent win, Justin. We'll throw it to Thicky this time.
I had one win over 24 episodes. I've had one win. Can we leave it up to the viewers in the comments?
It was only on his birthday.
Yeah,
It was like a pity gift.
All right, we'll make sure we give you another one next birthday, Justin. All right, well, great episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Obviously, we're kind of in the middle of a very active period for crypto, so we're looking forward to seeing how the ETF news plays out over the next few days. Really, everything's supposed to happen now. Maybe it'll already happen by the time people are watching this, and curious to see the market reaction. So we'll catch up with you guys next week. Take care.